We believe health is the foundation that unlocks freedom. The freedom to live fully, to be an asset and not a burden, and to chase what truly matters. Through daily practices and proven frameworks, we are here to help you build deep health, find lasting peace, and live with your heart on fire. Welcome to the chase. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here as always with Ben, and we are joined by friend of the show, Mark England. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me back on.
Good to see you, man. For
Mark.
Folks who don't know, maybe who haven't listened to the episodes, Mark, where you've joined us before, you are the co-founder and head coach of a company called Enlisted. Can you remind us what Enlisted is, what it does, sort of what your focus is with it?
For sure, happily. So Enlisted, as far as the business is concerned, we certify mindset coaches. We specialize at the beginning of the conversation in helping them learn how to dismantle their clients' victim mentalities, because that's usually where the conversation starts. Most people do not book in for a coach, mindset coach, when the sun's out and everything's going great and they quote unquote got this. And when you start going into the stories they have, scratching the surface, you get flavors of the victim mentality, and we teach people what to do with that. And then 30,000 foot view, a little bit broader stroke, we teach people in general, because we put a lot of content out, and I was a teacher before I got into this line of work. I'm a teacher before I'm a businessman, about their mindset, which is the story that they tell themselves. That's the Enlisted definition of mindset, or as far as coaching is concerned, your client's mindset is the story that they tell themselves. And that story is made of words, turns out. And then everything after that is mechanics and details. We're known as the language people.
That's my favorite part about you guys. Okay, so here's what I wanted to do with you this time around. We've had conversations with Mark before, so if you like this, go back in the archives and find the 2 or 3 other ones that we've done. But Mark, you've been really generous. We, on chasingexcellence.email, which is our website, we do once a month, we just do a recommendation roundup where I reach out to some friends and say, hey, give me something that you've been enjoying, that you've been trying, a book, a podcast, a habit, or whatever. And you've been really generous. You've been giving us one every single month. And so what I wanted to do is have you on to talk through 2 of the 3 that we've put out so far. So we're going to talk about what you call the most common pre-workout, and then something called Kindlin's Law. So what I thought we'd do to jump into this is I just wanted to read what you wrote for each one of these. We'll start with the most common pre-workout and then use that as a jumping off point for a conversation.
Perfect.
All right, so this is what you wrote. The most common pre-workout in the fitness industry. Is it No Explode, Superhuman Pump, C4 Original, or maybe Ultimate Orange for you old school gym rats?
Ultimate Orange.
Yeah,
oh my
Ben knows.
God. There we go.
Nope. The thing that
Yes.
fuels more workouts than anything else, the thing that gets people to the gym more often than anything else, the thing that most people run off of is, drum roll please, the fear of not being good enough. Yep, good old-fashioned atelophobia with a side order of the victim mentality. I'll make him want me back. She's going to regret ever cheating on me. Wait till all those bullies see me at the class reunion. And that isn't a tenth of it. When people fuel their workouts with feelings of regret, anger, sadness, betrayal, and a general sense that there's something wrong with them, they turn their workouts into punishments. Punishments for not being good enough, not being smart enough, not being successful enough, not being whatever enough. Now, is that 100% exclusive across the board? Of course not. And I've brought that up in enough workshops where a lot of wide-eyed people in the audience are nodding along to know it's a thing. So the moral of the story, dismantle the victim mentality in all its glorious forms and watch your workouts transform. Watch your workouts transform from being punishment to a celebration of being able to do it rather than a way to keep the lid on the quote-unquote crazy. So that's what you sent over. I would love to start with atelophobia. That's perhaps not a word folks have heard before. Is that simply the fancy word to say?
Come on, Patrick.
That
doesn't just roll off the tongue?
Is that just a fancy way of saying, like, I just don't think I'm good enough? Is that it?
That's the technical term for it.
Yeah.
Some smart person somewhere created it. And yes, that's the technical term for the fear of not being good enough. And a lot of stuff boils down to that.
It's interesting. I was talking today with, I was over at my gym, and we were talking about getting new people into the gym. And one of the things that I was saying was, I think one of the reasons people don't get into a gym, in this case it's a CrossFit gym, but I imagine it can be any kind of environment where, you know, whether it's a jiu-jitsu gym, whether it's a improv class, anything where your lack of experience or skills is going to be developed. I feel like most people stay away from them because of this fear of not being good enough. And it's really interesting to me to think about, it's that. And even if they get in there, that's still there. That's still such a powerful force for people.
Majorly. The people that get themselves in the gym just for the first workout, they're the winners. That's the smaller percentage. We went on, and you all were gracious to host us for one of them, 17 workshops this past summer. And all of them, except for one, were in CrossFit gyms. And we did mostly celebrating the wins, and then we also did some stuff where we helped people get unstuck. And it was either 3 or 4 wins people celebrated, as in, hey, here's a cool thing that I did. Let's get that out of my head and on paper so we can make it even more meaningful, because I don't make the rules. And for whatever reason, people don't write damn near anything down. So they keep the scary stories in their head. Scary stories kept in the head are up close and loud and big and scary and meaningful. All of the awesome stuff that people have done, the times they've knocked it out of the park, times when people were there for them, cool things that they did in childhood, those stories are also kept in the head, and for whatever reason, they're very far away, and the volume is turned down on them and not very meaningful. Mm-hmm. And so those 17 workshops were just helping people get simple, ordinary, quote-unquote, ordinary wins titled and written down, and a number of people, one of the things they were celebrating is the fact that they got themselves in the gym, and they had to get themselves over the conversation in their head that everybody in there is just so much better than you, and you need to get in shape before you go to the gym, or who do you think you are to go into a CrossFit gym? That's for athletes. And yeah, that's extremely common. It's extremely common for gyms. It's extremely common for coaches. Just backing up a little bit, atelophobia, the fear of not being good enough. People don't wake up in the middle of the night sweating about email funnels. Okay? Coaches are sweating about being seen. And if we want another fancy word, that's called socophobia. Socophobia and atelophobia. Socophobia is the fear of being seen. You put those 3 things together, and people have got a worthy opponent. Atelophobia, the fear of not being good enough. Socophobia, the fear of being seen. And then the victim mentality, which has got, I've said this before on your show, more flavors than Baskin Robbins. And you've got a worthy opponent in your head whispering not so sweet nothings to you. And then the people that do get themselves in the gym, a lot of time it's just trash that they're saying to themselves to get them to the gym, to get them through a workout, to keep them motivated. And I live this. And I tanked my fight career with a, can I cuss on here? I forgot, gentlemen.
Go for it.
Yeah, with a shitty story about myself. A story that I wasn't good enough. And I'm going to go prove to everybody that I am good enough by getting in the ring and fighting. And that was a stressful story to maintain, which kept my breathing mechanics tight in my chest. And then anybody goes and does any kind of activity under load, or someone swinging at your face or trying to body slam you or rip your shoulder out of socket and you're holding your breath the whole time, of course things are going to break. Of course things are going to rip and tear and snap. And it's also very distracting. I mean, how many people get injured in a gym because they're not paying attention? Or because they're going too hard, they're not listening because the person next to them, they're in comparison hell. Oh, I've been here longer and they're lifting more weight than I am. I'll show them. Yeah, he's going to wish he never broke up with me. The hit list goes on and on.
These different phobias and victim mentality, are those tangential to, or are they separate, or are they just different ways to label insecurity?
Great question. They overlap big time. And I'm not the person to take a scalpel and, because that would take a degrees, likely plural, and a higher IQ than I have. The common thread is the fear of not being good enough. And so it's fear being seen, a victim mentality. The victim mentality's got a number of different language patterns that you and I, us three, have spoken about, and which create different flavors of it. Some of it's shame, some of it's indecision. You use enough soft talk, you're going to have prolonged bouts of indecision, and then eventually identify yourself as indecisive. And I'm just an indecisive person, and that means I'm not doing anything with my time because my time's worthless, and then that means I'm not good enough. Or projections, negations. It's that's the through line, a telephobia.
Where does a telephobia come from? Where does it originate from? Why is it so common?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It comes from a glitch in our language. And our language is an inheritance. We inherit this way of telling a story from our parents, who were likely not educated to think about their thinking. So if we want to get Alan Watts about it, Alan Watts, in my opinion, the best Zen teacher the West has ever had and or will ever have, said when we learn to think about our thinking, we become alive in a new way. Most people are not thinking about their thinking, they're just thinking. And so one way that we could, in my opinion, accurately talk about where this stuff comes from, what is it? It's an inherited lack of education about how our language, our words influence us for better and for worse. We'll just pick up one of the levers. Most people are not paying attention to how fast they're talking or how fast the story is going. And that's a major lever when it comes to helping people change their mindset, which is the story that they tell themselves. The faster the story goes, the harder it is to change for a variety of reasons, and we get mechanical here. So if I am talking really fast, my breathing gets higher and tighter in my chest, and my listening tanks, okay? It's called amygdala hijack. And I tend to speak even faster and listen even worse. And most people don't pay attention to that. They just are consumed by the voice in their head, believing that it's true. Another thing to say, most people aren't paying attention to the words that they use. Stuff we didn't learn in high school English class. Most people haven't had any classes on how to use their words to stay focused on what's important and keep the drama low, build themselves up in their imagination and feelings and emotions, also known as confidence and competence. And most parents have not been taught how to give their child a chance to put two and two together with what they're saying. They just talk too much, too many words. I find it one of the most fascinating things to study is transformational wordsmithing. For another fancy word, that's what we're doing. It's when you help somebody change a story. That's what it is.
When you say when you're talking faster, you're listening less, which is very true. And also the breath gets wrapped in. Is that also when you're thinking faster? Are those when you say talking faster, is it also the voice in your head talking faster?
Fantastic point. And yes, that's true. So the faster the story goes across the board, the harder it is to pay attention to, the harder it is to observe, the easier it is to get sucked into, because we get tunnel vision. Same thing. So again, mechanically speaking, when someone goes and runs wind sprints, what happens to their field of vision? They lose access to their peripheral vision. Their breath is high and tight. Okay? Their body is more tense. Their ability to, just see anything out of this little tube of the finish line goes down, as opposed to going on a stroll, a slow walk. That's what I did. I wrapped class at 2:15, and I had about an hour, and I went on a slow walk. And because I was going slow, everything zoomed out. The faster something goes, it zooms in. When things slow down, it zooms out. Same thing with our words. So there's three, and you can write fast, of course, and this is almost an exclusive broad stroke. There's 3 speeds to storytelling. Stories kept in the head, they go the fastest. Little bits of words, half sentences. It's a speedster. When we speak, it's now slowed down and more organized. And then the slowest form of storytelling is writing. if you want to make some changes to the story that you're telling yourself, you're going to need to adjust the speed at certain points in time. Or if you want to have even better conversations with people, especially if they're of weight or significance, slow down your rate of speech by 10%. Your breath will loosen up. You'll be a better listener. You'll have better rhythm and timing. You'll have better inflection.
Let's pause to say thanks to a few sponsors, and we'll be right back to the conversation. We're brought to you today by Skims, the brand that's revolutionizing men's underwear with the perfect blend of comfort, style, and innovation. Head over to skims.com to upgrade your underwear game and I just said that. I swear I just said that. And let them know we sent you by selecting podcast in the survey after your order and finding our show in the dropdown. Listen, guys, I'll be honest. I was skeptical when I heard Skims was making men's underwear, but after trying their cotton 5-inch boxer brief, well, I'm completely sold. These aren't just any boxer briefs. They stay exactly where they should. No riding up, no awkward adjustments needed. You know what I'm talking about. And here's the thing. Skims is actually the official underwear partner of the NBA. So you know they understand a thing or two about what active dudes need. The fabric is incredibly soft, breathable, and maintains its shape all day long. Trust me, this is the upgrade your underwear drawer has been waiting for, has been begging for. Visit skims.com today, and don't forget to select podcast in the survey after your order to let them know that we sent you. We're brought to you by Mud Water, the organic mushroom coffee alternative that is revolutionizing how people energize their day without an afternoon crash. Head over to mudwater.com. That's MUDWTR.com. Use the code excellence for up to 43% off your order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother. You know that dreaded 2 p.m. slump when coffee's worn off and you're reaching for yet another cup that you know will keep you up all night. That's exactly why you ought to switch to Mudwater's perfect blend of cacao, chai, and adaptogenic mushrooms. Instead of the jitters and crashes that you and I used to get from coffee, we can now experience the sustained, clean energy that keeps us focused throughout those challenging afternoon hours. What I love most is how each ingredient serves a purpose. The lion's mane mushroom enhances mental clarity, while cordyceps provides natural energy without the caffeine overload. Plus, it tastes like a cozy chai hot chocolate that makes your afternoon ritual something to look forward to. Transform your afternoon energy by visiting mudwater.com. Use the code excellence to get up to 43% off your order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother. We're brought to you by Our Place, a mission-driven cookware company revolutionizing kitchen safety with beautiful high-performance products free from harmful forever chemicals. Head to FromOurPlace.com. Use the code excellence at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. Did you know that 80% of nonstick pans still contain toxic PFAS chemicals that can leach into your food with every meal? You can completely transform your kitchen with Our Place's incredible 4-piece cookware set featuring toxin-free cooking services that perform even better than traditional nonstick. The set includes 2 always pans and 2 perfect pots in mini and full sizes, replacing what would normally be 8 to 10 separate pieces that clutter your cabinets. You'll save a whopping $150 compared to buying pieces separately, and everything matches in their gorgeous signature colors. Plus, with a 100-day risk-free trial and free shipping, you can experience the difference toxin-free cooking makes with zero downside. Visit FromOurPlace.com and enter the code excellence at checkout to save 10% on cookware that's as good for your health as it is for your kitchen. Okay, now let's get back to the show. Just to maybe close the loop of where atelophobia comes from, both Ben and I are parents. How do you recommend, if it is something that is inadvertently handed down from generation to generation, how do we, as best we can, break the cycle so that it's not something that we then hand on to our kids, even if it is something that we struggle with ourselves? What can we look out for and maybe put in place whatever might be the natural inclination?
Great question. 2 answers. We'll go with a general practice first. So for whatever reason, ages 5 to 10, and we get asked this a lot, hey, this is awesome and it's good for me, and I also want to share this with my kids. Ages 5 to 10, a wins journal. Okay, a wins journal, and it's super easy. Get a piece of paper and write in a full sentence. Again, half sentences, again, I don't make the rules. Half sentences and bullet points don't summon the magic. It's not enough words. It's not enough detail. One sentence on one page per day of something that your child did well. And then they write it and they read it, and that's it. It takes probably a minute, and within not a long amount of time, a short amount of time, it usually turns into a ceremony of sorts. We just wrapped up dinner and it's time to go wash up for bed. Let's get our wins. Or maybe you do it at the breakfast table. They'll start enforcing it. And so what that does is it trains them to see themselves as good enough. So they're showing themselves and you, they're sharing a win with themselves and yourself. And it gets them to be able to give themselves some credit. That was one of the biggest parts of the workshops that we were doing this summer, is that most people have a 3rd degree black belt in the art of deflecting, minimizing, dismissing a compliment coming from someone else to themselves. It's on a whole other level when I have to give myself credit for something that I've done. No, you need a tool to do that. It's a pen and a piece of paper and how to get the breath in there. You need a shoehorn and a crowbar and a acetylene torch, because most people, they're just hell-bent on not giving themselves some credit. And that goes back to the conversation about mindset. Most people think mindset is goal setting and shit talking yourself all the way through it till you get it done. There's so much more than that. And you can share that with your kids. It will raise their psychological and emotional immunity, which I find interesting to think about. If I get sick once a month, something's up with my immunity. If I go out and get on social media and every time I see a post that I don't like, I'm all riled up and I can't talk myself down for a day or two, that's a telltale sign of a low psychological and emotional immunity. And most people's, like kids, it's going down, like in the wrong direction. There's that, and then the good old-fashioned soft talk challenge.
Yep.
Here's this again. These words, everybody, and I'm happy to read them off.
Yeah,
Ben, Ken, or Patrick.
Go for it, Mark.
Okay, cool. And these words are very, 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 probably, there's the joke, in your language, in your spouse's language. And remember, language is an inheritance. Think about that. That's wild. If you want to gift your children a better storytelling device, because that's what language is, then make some seemingly small improvements in your language, and they're going to pick up on that in some form or fashion, especially if you make it if you gamify it, as in put these words on the fridge and leave them there, they'll start correcting you. And so once again, Alan Watts, you got your kids thinking about their thinking. You got their kids thinking about the words they're using. They're not going to learn that in English class, in public school, when it comes to their mindset, the story that I'm telling themselves. Most people have no way to put the fire out in their head before they, share it with everybody else. I've call me old-fashioned. I think it's very cool when someone can do that. What do you mean? I need them to. And because projection keywords, no, wait a minute, I don't need them to, I need me to. Ooh, yeah, that tastes a little bit different. And the breath unlocks, and you look up, and wow, there's something else. Things are looking up, and I just saved myself an argument with someone else that I was about to suck into it because I need them to respect me more. No, dude, you need to respect yourself more, and you need to respect your time more. They're not wasting your time. You're wasting your time waiting for them to change. And I've saved myself a lot of time being able to do that. That's a skill. And so the words, everybody, if you want to play along, I'm going to read these out. To do it well, take a clean sheet of paper, write these words 5 times larger than you would normally write them. It's going to get the attention of your reticular activating system. There's another big word. And then put it up on your fridge and leave it there for 90 days. Okay, 90 days you'll have come in contact with it on the daily, and it will be, here's a good word, whether it's your gym or your family, it'll be in the culture. So Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if you want to improve the culture of something, in my opinion, language is as important as environment. How the environment is set up, what language is promoted in an environment, what language is looked down upon. I was thinking about this morning, Ben, from your book. I can't remember what athlete it was, but someone had a tantrum about something. And they went outside, and you walked up to them and you said, we don't do that here. That's checking the culture. And when you give people a way to check their own input into a culture, that's a big deal. So I go on rants and tangents professionally, everybody. Forgive me. Here are the words. Probably, perhaps, feels like, guess, maybe, could, might, possibly, sort of, kind of, potentially, hopefully, try, one day, should, almost like. One day, I'm going to go take a class at CrossFit New England. How many of those people come in the door? Not many. Versus today, I'm going to take a class at CrossFit New England. You know, maybe I should get some books on personal development versus I'm getting books on personal development. And when you've got a way to work on the story that you're telling yourself, okay, well, you've got a way to work on it. Most people don't know what it is. Go ask 5 people. Everybody listen to the show. Here's a fun exercise. Go ask 5 people that are really big on mindset. Hey, what's mindset? You're going to get a bunch of different answers. And a lot of them aren't practical. Key root word of practical, practice. How do I practice working on it? Well, you need to know what it is and then what it's made of. So, yeah, those are my 2 answers on how to gift your children a better language, is to make some improvements on yours, okay, and bring it into the family, gamify it. Oh, you just said should, and then get them to write a wins journal. And they don't have to do it from 5 to 12. If they did that for 6 months, that would improve the quality of the story they told themselves for the rest of their life.
Why ages 5 to 12, Mark, or 5 to 10, whichever one it was?
The front end answer is they've had enough experience with language, writing language, 5 and up, and then the second part is puberty. It's like kids start hitting puberty and they start paying less and less attention to parents. Okay, they get more not sovereign.
Hairy, smelly.
That too. Yeah, they get more independent. There's the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
they get more independent.
Oh, that's not where I was going. Okay, so we started this conversation off with basically we have these different forms of insecurity, the phobias, the victim mentality. Mentality in general, mindset is the story we tell ourselves. We now have some of these, a really simple tool, which we can gamify, these soft words. You know, as I've heard you, this is probably a half dozen times, I've heard the soft words conversation. And even this time I'm like, that's so surprising that those are the words. They're not like can't, won't, hate. They're not the destructive. They're not the negatives. They're not the they're not the ones that are filled with
bitterness
and insecurities.
Yeah,
like they're not that. It's like they're kind of like they're these hopeful statements. You know, I should go to the gym. I should call my mom. It's all these. One day it seems like it's on the right track. And it's funny that this is where we start in terms of the tools to dismantle the victim mentality starts, I would call it kind of this neutral or gray area. It's not in this, woe is me, the world is out to get to me, everything is everyone else's fault, there's nothing I can do about it. It's more in this sort of like, I would say almost like we're on the path a little bit. Yeah. Why do we start here? Why do we start with the soft words?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's an important one, and it can be a little bit surprising because they have the least amount of attachment to them. They're the easiest words to start plucking out of someone's language. You need, when it comes to helping someone, it's a long game conversation, everybody. You're working on your mindset. It's very similar to getting in shape and staying in shape. If you want what you want from what your physical exercise practices could be, then you're going to long game it. And it's the same thing with your language, your mindset. And so to start, we call soft talk the gateway drug, because it's the easiest set of words to identify. Okay? And then work with, because all you have to do is pluck them out. There's the maybe, pluck it out. There's a kind of, pluck it out. And then it's an immediate feel, as in, I think we might want to we might want to no, we are, and you watch yourself talk yourself into a more solid position. You feel it, you know how you got there. Okay? And then when it comes to negations, so can'ts, won'ts, isn'ts, nots, haven'ts, hadn'ts, that takes, there's more moving parts there. It takes a little bit longer to think about what the opposite of the negation is. I can't keep living like this. Oh shit, there's a negation. Yeah. Okay, so if I can't keep living like this, what can I do? Well, I can make some improvements. It takes a little bit longer. And then there's the projections, which is, we recommend that last, because that's where the bitterness is. That's where the most of people's stress response is. That's where their breath is trapped the tightest. That's where they're the most attached. Breath trapped, tight grip on the story. So my wife loves embarrassing me when we go out. Okay? My wife, projection keyword, or
Is that true?
I'm not married. They don't realize how much effort I put into this. Or my mom has never seen me as an adult. And so those three sentences right there, they're going to create the victim-villain dynamic with different people. Someone's first name. Stacy is ruining my life. What happens when I say Stacy is ruining my life? There's a picture of Stacy in there. There's a picture of me in there. She's doing something to me. I got to wait for her to change. Don't hold your breath. And then there's usually, that's a very strong understatement, there's usually a lot more emotional charge in projections. Okay? Because people got to give up. If they give up that, they start giving up the other stuff. And people get there. And this is us talking about soft talk as the gateway drug after 18 years in the game, educating people about it and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I've been doing this 18 years, and then the past 6 we've been certifying coaches. The certifications turned 6 years old this the third weekend in April this month. It's very cool. Humbled. Very cool. Yeah, proud of it. And so a good amount of time teaching people about words, and here's what it's this, dude, I was an elementary school PE teacher before I got involved in this. It's the same thing. If you're working with adults, you're actually working with kids. Make it fun, demystify the conversation, simplify the conversation, and then gamify it. Those two things. Oh, and to make matters even better, this is easy to share with people. Early adopters, they'll share this and explain it with other people because it's easy to understand. And then, the learning pyramid, 30, 50, 80. We remember 30% of what we hear, 50% of what we write, and 80% of what we turn around, teach, share, or explain. This for whatever those reasons. Yep. This is it.
And folks, he's holding up the soft talk challenge words, just for if you're just listening. Let's pause to say thanks to a few sponsors, and we'll be right back to the conversation. We're brought to you by Peak, the premium tea company revolutionizing gut health with their ancient fermented pu'er teas. Get 20% off Peak's pu'er teas plus a free starter kit by visiting peaklife.com/excellence. That's PIQUE life.com/excellence. If you're training hard but not seeing results, your gut health might be the missing piece. Peak's Pu'er Tea transforms performance from the inside out. Green Pu'er Tea in the morning provides calm, focused energy without all those crashes. Black Pu'er Tea after meals supports digestion, reducing bloating, and keeps you feeling light. The secret is fermentation, creating a blend of probiotics, prebiotics, and polyphenols that optimize your microbiome and metabolism. Peak sources only the best, wild harvested, toxin screened, and easily dissolvable with no steeping required. Head to peaklife.com/excellence for 20% off your Pu'er Teas plus a free starter kit backed by their 90-day guarantee. Again, that's PIQUE life.com/excellence. We're brought to you by Momentous, a supplement company that's setting new standards in quality and transparency through what they call the Momentous Standard. Head to livemomentous.com and be sure to use the code EXCELLENCE for 35% off your first subscription. What sets Momentous apart is their unwavering commitment to excellence. Every product undergoes rigorous third-party testing and certification, ensuring what's on the label is exactly what's in the bottle. That's why we love them. They've earned the trust of over 200 professional sports teams and collegiate programs, including all 32 NFL teams. Their products are developed alongside leading experts like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Dr. Kelly Starrett, bringing you supplements that are backed by real science. Here is something impressive. They invest 1.5% of all their revenue into post-production testing and certification, making sure every batch is pure and safe. Head to livemomentous.com and use the code EXCELLENCE for 35% off your first subscription to start your journey with a brand that never compromises on quality. Okay, now let's get back to the show. Mark, you mentioned thinking about thinking.
Yes.
And we went pretty quick past this idea that I think is really important, which is thinking about talking. You mentioned part of the solution of this is slowing down the words so you can slow down the story, so you can slow down the breath. But to me, this is really hard, is to think about the words as they're coming out of your mouth. And it's something I've seen you do really well. And obviously you've got a lot of years, as you just mentioned, doing this. Like I've watched or listened to you say a sentence and then edit it almost immediately afterwards because you said a negation, right? How do we start to hear the words that are coming out of our mouths at roughly the same speed at which they're coming out of our mouths?
The answer to developing the skill of being able to real-time edit words. So what you're saying on a personal level, just what I'm speaking, and both of you, thanks again for coming to those workshops and hosting them, have seen me interact with people coaching real time. That skill is developed through writing. And so if you want to get good at being able to observe words, because again, they're coming out of my mouth faster than they're coming out of my pen, you need to slow the thing down so you can get your head around what's doing what, which does dovetail back to how soft talk shows up when people start learning about it. People start editing soft talk in their texts and emails because it's written and it's externalized and you can see the words. If you keep playing that game, eventually you'll go, I can't keep living. No, I can keep living like this, but I don't want to live like this. So if I don't want to live like this, how do I want to live? I want to live more free and with more financial independence. Okay, well, if I want to live with more financial independence, what's the top 2 things that I need to work on this month? And you just work yourself backwards by being able to stay focused on what's important. Get other people out of your stories, everybody. That's a big one. Again, that's where the crowbar, that's where the Enlisted method is. It's a shoehorn, it's a crowbar, it's a torch. When it comes to the projections, it usually involves some sting. Okay. It's nothing compared to not doing it, though. And really all this comes from, well, there's another part of the conversation, too. I fell in love with this stuff on site, boys. 22 years ago. And attraction's not a choice. I was a horrible student. I was the worst student. I wasn't a disruptive student. I was a destructive student for two main reasons. One, I was bored out of my mind with what was being taught in school, public school system. Okay, so I got brought up in the public school system, and I have a degree in how to enforce it. And then two, kids aren't supposed to sit that long, especially when they got a lot of energy. So I'm bored out of my mind and forced to sit in a chair, hating life. So I didn't learn to get good at anything. I didn't learn how to focus on stuff. And so I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. The first time I ever rolled, I was like, man, this is it. And then the second time I fell in love on site and taking a few beautiful women out of the conversation was when I saw a guy 22 years ago who would end up being my first mentor in this work turn a woman's bad breakup story on her head. And it was a projection. Okay? He did that to me. That was the Lord of the Rings story. I've talked about this on your show. And you know what? Repetition is the mother of all skill, everybody. This is the conversation about the story that we tell ourselves and the words that we use to script the victim mentality and the words that we can use to unravel it if we so choose to learn how to do it. That's not a 90-minute conversation and yeah, I got this. It's the same thing as talking about pick your Olympic lift. Okay, you got to go rep it out and then practice it for however long, depending on how good you want to be. The sentence was, he did that to me. And he had her repeat it 3 times, so everybody is in the same room as in a yoga sala, staring at the same spell. Webster's definition of a spell, word or a combination of words of great influence. And then he took that last word out and he said, take that last word out and put the word himself in there. And it was a long 2 seconds because you could see the gears like gnash and mesh and start, like the well-oiled machine of her victim mentality, which most people's victim mentalities are well-oiled machines. You do not want that thing to be a well-oiled machine. Springs started to come out and some steam, and then gears. It was like something out of a Looney Tunes cartoon. And she said it with uptalk, clunky uptalk. He did that to himself? Because that's a question. And then the breath unlocks. He did do that to himself. And then she just went in a completely different direction with the story. And I was like, that right there. And so that's a long-winded way of me saying, how do you get good at something? You got to be interested in it. And this stuff, I'm beyond interested in it. I'm maniacally obsessed with it. And I don't know who to thank for that. And I told the coaches this on class right before I got on there, and a couple of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 box owners in that particular level 1 class, they were very excited I was coming on this show. They're fans.
So I love the idea of the get other people out of your stories. Both for like the very obvious one there, right? Which is he did that to me. He did that to me. Mm-hmm. My mom never saw me as an adult. They don't appreciate the work I've done. But you know, I think there's some nuance to that, because while I like to think that that's not my default, at least to that level of an extreme. When you said that, get other people out of your stories, I went, that. You know who I got to tell that? Because they are doing that. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm doing it right there. It's like I'm saying there's other people that need to hear that when actually it's me that needs to hear that. If I'm immediately going, it's a little bit, this is a divergent, but I promise I much prefer to coach women than men. If you talk to a team of men, a men's basketball team, you go, guys, we got to start hustling. We got to get to the loose balls. We got to get back on defense. Every guy goes, that's right, you guys got to get back on defense. You guys got to hustle more. You talk to a group of women, a women's basketball team, say the same thing, and everyone goes, oh my God, he's talking to me. And I think that there's some level of that I have, which is like, I just want to go, yeah, guys, listen to Mark. Like, you guys should listen to Mark. When in fact, like, if I'm saying that by definition, I'm saying it's about other people.
Yeah.
When it's actually me. Like, it's just the nuance to it, right? The degrees. It doesn't necessarily need to be victim, world is out to get me. They don't understand. It can be a subtle aspect to that. And it's one of those things that that's what I wrote down and just circled. It's like, wow, that's for me.
It's a very interesting form of exploration, is to start using words differently about scenarios. And if it hits you in the feels, proceed. And if it doesn't, go in another direction. I'll say it another way. If it's applicable, you'll know it. You'll know based on how you feel about it. And some of those feels aren't going to be fun. But what is fun is making improvements. Okay? Making improvements.
We talk a lot on the show about how we are incredibly shaped by our environments. And it's really hard. You have to be incredibly intentional to push against environments. And that's why people that are generation breakers, you said, Patrick asked the question, if you inherit it, how do you not pass it down? Same thing with abuse, neglect, addiction, whatever it might be. I think that the biggest, bravest thing that someone can do is be a generation breaker, because they're taking all of this lineage and going, the buck stops with me, we're going to pass it on. I am very intentional with the way that we create culture in our organizations, on my teams, with my athletes, in my family, with my friends. We're so picky about who we spend our time with, because we just know how important environment is. And I really like the specificity of language is as important as culture, right? And I think this one is the same, but let's just up-level language as one of the things. And you are known as the language people, or whatever you said that earlier on. And we do that. We do what you're saying, which is we don't do it with a soft talk. We have a couple, which is one of ours is no shoulds. It's only wills. No have tos. You get to. And no sure. Sure is just this most passive, like, can I get you a glass of water? Sure. Like, you want to go hang out on Friday, Mark? And you're like, sure. It's like, oh. So it's like, yeah, I guess I have nothing better to do. Like, so I bring it to light because I wholeheartedly agree in the power of language, the power of words, that old mantra of, your thoughts become words, words actions, actions dictate destiny or who you become. So if you want to, the hard part about that is, as you said, because it's so fast and it's fragmented, changing thoughts is hard. It's really hard to go, I'm going to change my thoughts. But you can control the words. So while it is a chain reaction, you can put a speed bump. You could put a spotlight. You could put a moment of pause and recognition to words. And if we start to control that, the chain reaction changes along the way. And it will go upstream. That's the kind of cool thing. It's not that it just like works down. It will then reframe your thoughts. It works upstream as well. It's bi-directional.
1,000%. When people say, my life is out of control, well, what do they mean? People's life is a story. And when someone says, my life is out of control, they're saying my story is out of control. And then what I hear from there is, oh, your story is in your head and it's going really fast and it's not a fun one and it's looping. The fastest way, I'll say it again and then plus, the faster the story goes, everybody take this to the bank. The faster the story goes, the harder it is to change. And then the fastest way to slow the story down is to write it down. Once your words are externalized, then you're giving yourself distance and time to be able to go, oh, wait a minute. And then another reason why soft talk is, or just any way, Ben, to think about thinking, as in what words am I using, is going to help people connect other dots.
Is there a tractor going by?
Yeah, there is.
Right?
Are y'all picking that up?
It's totally good. Don't worry about
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to leave it in there.
Okay.
Mark lives on a farm, and there's a
Yeah.
tractor going by.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's right there.
At first, I thought it was like...
it. I thought it was rain for a second.
Yeah, I thought it was a river. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, there's a river. I was like, wait a minute. A river just doesn't show up.
No.
Because it's
No.
a perfect river sounds. I was like, that's what I fall asleep like next to my daughter with.
It's
Alexa,
yeah.
play river sounds.
Play river sounds.
Mark,
Yeah,
play river sounds.
It's one of them good old fashioned
those are
diesels.
tractor
Now it's gonna
sounds.
be, Alexa, play tractor sounds. Yeah.
You'll like this one, Ben, and it falls right under there with sure. Fine.
Yep.
Fine. No, fine. Oh, fine. Fine is a grain of sandpaper. Say that next time someone says the word fine. How are you doing? I'm fine. You want to have pizza tonight? Fine.
Yeah.
Boo.
All right, we want to be respectful of your time. I want to go back to we're gonna punt the conversation about Kindlin's Law. We're gonna do we'll have you back for that because I want to just kind of maybe start to close the loop on this idea of the most common pre-workout. If folks have been listening and maybe they've been able to identify, or maybe they already knew that, man, a lot of the juice that gets me into the gym is the look on that person's face when they see me on the beach this summer. Can you give them an exercise or two? And I think we've talked through some of it. Maybe it's literally the writing the story down, but can you give them an exercise or two where they can go home and they can start to unpack that story, maybe unpack that mentality a little bit so that they can begin to rewrite the story of why they go to the gym to be one that's more productive and more useful and ultimately will help them more?
Sure. Happily.
Sure.
Pick up the pen and write out why you're going to the gym, why you want to go to the gym, what are your motivations, and lock yourself in a room and be honest. Okay? Nobody has to see that. Throw it away when you're done. Mm-hmm. Get 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs of the story titled and written out conversationally. So conversational writing, what's that? That's writing as if you were telling the story. Now this, for some people, this will hit. It'll hit it as in hit right in the feels. But guess what? It's no different than Murph for your mindset. There is some of the stories that people have, turn that pen into, make it feel like it's 600 pounds. 2 to 3 paragraphs, write it out, and then read it. And this exercise right here is easier than, hey, pay more or less attention to these projection keywords or why you're blaming other people for stuff. There's more of a conversation that needs to be had around this. This is a quick and dirty. It's going to unlock your breath exercise. And as the old Enlisted saying goes, good luck changing your mindset, good luck changing your mind, good luck changing your client's mind while their breath is trapped in their chest. You need to unlock the breath. So write out 2, 3, 4 paragraphs of why you're going to the gym. Not everybody has an entrenched dumpster fire victim mentality of why they're getting themselves in the gym. Some people, it's different. It doesn't matter. Get that story written out, step 1. Then read what you wrote, step 2. And then read it again 30% slower than your normal rate of speech. So now we're getting into the unlocking the breath conversation. When someone slows down their rate of speech, the breath loosens up. And then step 4 is in between. So it's step 3. Slow read. In between each sentence, take a full inhalation in, full exhalation out. And then go to the next sentence. So step 4 is it's the slow read plus an inhale, exhale in between each sentence. And what you can expect is some feelings and emotions to come up and out. Another way to say what you can expect is space and clarity. And that's what we're here to deliver at Enlisted. I am definitely not here to have answers for anybody's life about what they should do or could do or need to do or how they need to use their words. Okay, you know how many people have said, you said never to use a negation. I was like, I never said that. I said Pay attention to the words that you're using. You use some soft talk. Yeah, I know. There's a time and a place for a maybe. Okay? All I'm saying is learn to hear what you say and learn to observe what you write. And at the very core of the conversation, all we teach at Enlisted is awareness and creation. Awareness of your words, and then what you're creating with them, abracadabra. That's what abracadabra means. With my word, I create. What you're creating with them as a byproduct of it. And then from there, if someone wants to create horrendous victim-centric stories, that's your business. I'm not getting in the way of that. Okay? Most people don't want to, though. Most people want to be better. Most people want excellence.
Mark, where can folks learn more about this Enlisted you speak of?
For the certifications, www.enlisted, ENLIFTED.me, and then Instagram at Enlisted Coaches. If anyone has any questions about anything that we talked about, especially the four-stepping, just maybe back up. Anything that we talked about, message me on Instagram. I answer everything. And like I said a while ago, I this is what we do. I've been doing this for a while. I love it. And I love the people I get to converse with and meet through it. It's a different kind of person that wants to think about their thinking. I'm convinced. Most people don't want to think about their thinking because it creates too much responsibility and power.
Oh, don't send me down another rabbit hole, Mark. We're supposed to wrap this thing up so we can go home.
You want to see how much freeze-dried food I got in the back, or the ammo
Next
stockpile,
episode.
or
Next time we have on, we'll go through all that. Mark, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I always like talking to you, man.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening or watching so you do not miss another episode. For more frameworks and daily practices, visit chasingexcellence.email. And don't forget to tap the link in the show notes for today's full listener guide, where we break down the key ideas and provide actionable steps to help you put them into practice. Until next time, keep building health, finding freedom, and living with your heart on fire.